Advaitam Savadutam Harijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Gitam Shra Om Madhyana Timirandasya Yanandana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guru Bhavista Supuratam Guru Ganai Rashisha Shambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Irupa Pantanugam Govinda Vidhamujvalam Varatanam Bhaktyan Vitam Sundaram Vande Vishwam Gurum Chadivyam Bhagavat Premno Hi Bija Praram Devam Divyatanam Sachandavaranam Balakachalantritam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Shri Siddhantanidim Subhaktilasitam Sarasvatanambaram Vande Tang Shubhadam Madhikesharanam Nyashishwaram Shridharam Bancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna
Srila Madhusudan Maharadj ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Maharaj, yes, Srila Bhakti Rakha Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Guru Maharaj Srila Bharvati ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai Srila Sudarshana Prabhu ki Jai.
Hare Hare. You know this off by heart? Yes. Shri Swarupa Raya Rupa. Shri Swarupa Raya Rupa Jiva Bhava Samvarang Varna Dharma Nirvishesha Sarvaloka Nishtaram Shri Saraswati Priyancha Bhakti Sundarashrayam Shri Darang Namami Bhakti Rakshakam Jagat Kurum Sindhu Chandra Pavatendu Shaka Janmalilanam Shuddha Deepta Raga Bhakti Gauravanushīlanam Bindu Chandra Ratna Soma Shakalochanantaram Shridarang Namami Bhakti Rakshakam Jagat Gurum. But do you know any other?
There's another one, Kanakasuchidanam Sundaram.
Loud?
But it's very long.
But it's very long, but do you remember?
I know the first verse.
Yeah. That's the one straight after.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
So 3, 2, 1. Kanaka Surukirangam Sundarang Saumya Murtim Vibuddha Kula Varinyam Shri Gurum Siddhi Puritim Tarunna Tapanna Pastang Bhaktirang Chittilasang Bhaja Bhaja Tu Manure Sridaram Samdhanam.
So that's got a lot of verses, has it, that one?
Yeah. That's in the, is it Mav? The Mav book, there's the whole,
The which book?
the other song book.
Which other song?
The purple one.
This is purple.
There's
Yes.
only that one sloka.
Oh. What is this next one? No, there's a... I don't have
somewhere.
it. Yeah, there's like...
Look in the Bengali book, maybe.
As well as us here, there are some others out there. We better say something. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're here at the Kartik Festival 2025. We're with the Bamboo House at Govinda Farm. And Sudarshan Krishna Prabhu, Sudarshan Krishna, correct? Or just only Sudarshan?
Sudarshan Das.
Sudarshan Prabhu and I have been asked to speak. What is Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх? What a responsibility to give an answer for this question. But very simply, Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх is Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev. This is Shri Chайтанья Sарaswat Match. And if you ask Srila Gurudev, he'll say, it's Srila Guru Maharaj. It is the place of bhajana of Srila Guru Maharaj as a location, and as a conception, it is the conception given by Srila Guru Maharaj. And this has been drawn out and shown by Srila Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. So, this is the end of the talk. But Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх, Guru Maharaj wanted to be the place of pure devotion, the home of pure devotion. And many ways to attract people to come, this, that and the other, but there must be somewhere where people will come and get trained up, get the understanding of the practice and of the teachings of pure devotion. And this Srila Guru Maharaj maintained, and as he said, very strictly I follow what Srila Bhактисиддханту Saraswati Thakur, what he said, my Guru Maharaj, what my Guru Maharaj gave, I strictly follow that. And so, really Shri Chайтанья Saraswat Match is the place of bhajan of Srila Guru Maharaj and of Srila Gurudev. So as a location, we can say it is where the devotees gather together to hear the pure teachings of the pure Supreme Personality of Godhead and the pure teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhantу Saraswati Thakur, who gave us Mahaprabhu's teachings for time, place and circumstance, application of his teachings for time, place and circumstance of the present age, the invention of the motor car at that time and various the printing press and various things like this which were not around in the time of the six Goswamis and in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after Mahaprabhu, then there became a great dip in the teachings, in the quality in general of the followers who were supposedly following Mahaprabhu's teachings. And very quickly, within 1, 2, 3, 4 generations, the general distribution of Mahaprabhu's teachings had become degraded. And by the time Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur from the 19th century appeared, then he saw that what Mahaprabhu taught and what was generally seen to be the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were quite different. And it's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who came across in his Leela, he's a Parshad of the Lord, but in his Leela of like coming to Krishna consciousness, coming to appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came to see and read and understand, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he has given is the purest of the pure, the topmost thing, and this should be set right, this should be broadcast, not the behavior of those who are saying, oh, we are followers of Mahaprabhu. The Gauranga Mahaprabhu's followers, they were known to be doing openly wrong things, just going begging door to door to get some food for their stomach and behaving in a bad way, using maybe the scripture as an excuse, whatever it may be. But the teachings have become diluted or degraded very quickly, and you can say almost lost, except within a fine current. And that fine current, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur revived, like the embers in a fire. In the night before, for those of you who know what is a fire, and don't just have an electric socket, you have a fire the night before in the cold country, in the fireplace, and in the morning it looks like the fire is out, but often you look inside, there are some embers, something there. And so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he fanned those embers and brought back the strong fire of what was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. And this is very evident throughout his writings, and he wrote many books, and we saw one day a list, somebody's compiled a list of books and magazines, etc., that he composed. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his writing, he was a voluminous or prolific, whatever the word is, author of devotional literature. And he was writing about pure devotional service all the way through, and showing Mahaprabhu's teaching, the purity, the dignity, everything. But seeing the condition of the general people, then he understood that a teacher, somebody, he can write many things, but somebody in living way has to come and give some good talk, transmit very strongly, challenge the nonsense doers, or assert to the sincere seekers, which naturally will mean a challenge to the nonsense doers, because they are thinking, oh, this is our line, and so needed a strong, we can say, preacher, but a strong person to assert, to give Mahaprabhu's pure teaching to the world. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed to the Lord to send one of his own persons. One of your persons must come. The world is in such a dire strait, as it were. And as a result of that was the birth, the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhantha Saraswati Thakur, who from birth was pious, auspicious, learned, and had all the qualities of detachment, and focus, memory, all the auspicious qualities, and devotion, faith in the Lord. And Srila Bhaktisiddhantha Saraswati Thakur, from birth he was of a special nature. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhantha Saraswati Thakur, in due course of time, after, of course, growing up and following his father's directive, his father being Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who he took as his principal guru, following his father's directive, he strongly broadcast Krishna consciousness all over, established 64 mats within India and broader India, and including one or two maybe in the Western world, because he did send preachers to the West. But we're told he established 64 Gaudiya mats. And then before his passing away, then famously all of us here, I think, know how Srila Bhaktisiddhantha Saraswati Thakur, he showed to those who were his senior devotees there, he showed the transmission, the continuation of his current by having Srila Gurumar sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada at that crucial time just before his disappearance, when Srila Saraswati Thakur was ready to disappear. And Gurumar's godbrothers, who were very learned and very capable, that section, the leading godbrothers, they all considered that Srila Saraswati Thakur, he has given that current to Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. And Srila Guru Maharaj, when Srila Govindamar, Srila Gurudev would make this kind of comment to him, Guru Maharaj would humbly say, well, they say that, but I consider that my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhantha Saraswati Thakur, he posted me as a guardian of that upper section, that not anyone and everyone can just walk into the fine pastimes of the higher world. So this is Guru Maharaj's humility, and Srila Saraswati Thakur gave that title to Srila Guru Maharaj, to Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, the protector of devotion. And in our lifetime, in all of our generation, essentially, then Srila Guru Maharaj has been the protector of devotion for us in a very practical way, because we have been drawn to Krishna consciousness by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who himself told that Krishna and his Guru, same Bhaktisiddhantha Saraswati Thakur, liked that Srila Shridhar Maharaj, Srila Guru Maharaj will prepare him. And so Srila Prabhupada giving all honor, recognition to where he's connecting, getting his preparation in Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada, we know, distributed Krishna consciousness everywhere. And after his disappearance, then also, as often happens, and as Guru Maharaj said, more or less inevitable, after a great soul passes away, then difficulties came. And we, many of us, we were in a section who were young and were students, we want to surrender, and then we saw that where we are surrendering, thinking, yes, Srila Prabhupada gave his next generation, they were all saying there's 11 gurus, you choose between the gurus, and then that will be what Srila Prabhupada wants, which no doubt, maybe doubt in some quarters, but certainly he'll want that the new generations will take shelter of the older devotees. But when we saw that those who were standing as those leaders were crumbling, and very openly so, and in very gross ways, in many ways, then it became quite a disaster for taking shelter, where to take shelter. And at that time there were many who really trying to take shelter. New devotees were coming every week and joining into the temple, trying to take shelter. And the beginning of the 1980s, I came in 1980 in this way, and it was still active. I know the 70s, in the time of Srila Prabhupada, so many people coming, but still the incoming flow of devotees who were really coming along. And so, in the midst of a disaster, then we got to hear of Srila Guru Maharaj, the protector of devotion, by the grace of those means, Bhaktisudhir Goswami Maharaj, Jayatita Maharaj, and others who were going through the tapes of Srila Prabhupada in the BBT, which is their wing for going through the tapes, transcribing, publishing from there. And there they are coming across the recordings of Srila Prabhupada introducing Guru Maharaj, saying about Guru Maharaj, and when the need comes after my disappearance, then you go to Shrila Shridhar Maharaj for guidance, and many things like this. So these came up, and we had various, that time typed with the chick, 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 the typewriter, not electric, muscles of your fingers, all these things. But we had these carbon copy typed transcripts. And so we got some introduction to Srila Guru Maharaj. We came to Srila Guru Maharaj, and it was just automatically as if we've come to Srila Prabhupada, in the sense Srila Prabhupada is where we've got our faith. We read his books, we've come to him, we followed his guidance, we became vegetarian, chanted Hare Krishna, tried to do service, went to the artis, went to the Bhakti course. We got our whole grounding by his grace. And then we came to Guru Maharaj, and there was Guru Maharaj who was giving us the same voice, the same mood, the same honesty, the depth, the clarity, the practicality, everything. And we came to Guru Maharaj, and he saved the spiritual lives of many, and we can maybe actually say he saved the spiritual life of Srila Prabhupada's mission, which was on the verge of absolutely imploding at that time all over the world, when the pillars were all going away. Guru Maharaj giving the conception for the devotees, how to view such disasters and how to go through those disasters. So Srila Guru Maharaj is absolutely instrumental for the distribution of Mahaprabhu's message in the current of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And as the Guru Maker, he prepared Srila Prabhupada, and of course prepared Srila Govinda Maharaj. And it is Chaitanya Sarasath Match location, but Chaitanya Sarasath Match, Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, who Srila Prabhupada sent the promising devotees to get trained up, so that they would know what songs to sing, the tunes of the songs, and the conduct, Vaishnava etiquette, how to behave in a temple, what is a temple's routine, because everybody was very new. We know this from the next generation, down the way. But everyone was new. And by the way, Srila Prabhupada had never actually been a brahmachari in a temple. So, he's sending them to Srila Guru Maharaj to be trained up, to be polished. So, Chaitanya Saraswat Match, the location, it is the place where Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev had their bhajan kutir, where they were engaged in their bhajan, and their bhajan was relishing and distributing. And this way we have in the world that emblem, that place which always we're going to think of Chaitanya Saraswat Match. That is where the golden volcano of divine love in another form, really that came out from Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Match to the world. And it is the person rather, the personalities rather than the place. Guru Maharaj had threatened, not threatened, but he told, I will close the mat, I will give the deities away if this is and this. If things were if things were not going to be pure, not going to go the right way, Guru Maharaj, he was ready for the ideal, that no, the temple is for purity, the temple is for the message of Mahaprabhu, and it is even marked in iron, Shri Bhактисиддханту Shravan Sadan. It's written, when you're in the Nath Mandir and you're looking towards the deities, then above this grill doors, there is some wrought iron, this kind of iron, anyway, wrought iron. You have to look up a dictionary if you don't know what it is. And anyway, it's written like this, and means that this is a place where you come to hear Bhактисиддханту. But Guru Maharaj is saying, here you come to hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's message. You don't come with your own idea of what is the Siddhanta of Bhakti or anything else. It's to come here to hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's message. And in our time, since we came to the mat, Westerners came to the mat, and some things, of course, always happen, especially when you get Westerners coming to an Indian mat. Anyway, because there's a change of culture, that people don't know what is what. And one day, something bad really did, something bad happened now and again, but something bad happened, and Guru Maharaj was shocked. It was something happened with the Westerners. And Srila Guru Maharaj was shocked and positively angry. And when someone's kind of angry, they tend to say things. And what did Guru Maharaj say? He said, this is my Guru Maharaj's mat, and these things are going on here. Like that. He's just showing how he's not thinking it's his temple. It's the temple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's the place where you can come and hear his message, participate in the practice of his message purely. So, anyway, this is Chaitanya Saraswat Match in one way. And there are various things to say, but there are two of us sitting here, so I can pass the microphone over to Sudarshana Prabhu.
Jai Srila Madhusudana Maharaj ki jai. Very wonderful to hear the history. Everybody says this, but I really truly feel unqualified, and I think all of us maybe in some way feel unqualified to speak to what is the purpose of the month.
But you do need to speak a little louder.
But we're going to feel unqualified and speak louder.
Next year we'll try and get an amplifier, a simple amplifier with a microphone and
I think it's
a couple of speakers.
As unqualified as we are, it's very important for all of us to ponder this question. It's a very beautiful question, whoever put it together. Because the mat is a conception, it's an idea. As Maharaj very clearly laid out, Guru Maharaj said, I'll close the doors if the building is not matching the idea. Ultimately, it's a conception. And it's very hard for us who are caught in the world of external perception to understand that consciousness is actually reality. and the fineness of the ideal of Chaitanya Sarasavat Matth is something that we have to consider. Why? Because ultimately our ideal is to give our life to that. We're placing our, as Gurudev beautifully said, we're placing our head at his feet, and I'm your goat, you can take my head or my tail. That idea of placing our life in front of our Guru Varga, Srila Govinda Maharaj and Shri Shridhar Mahārāj. So what is that place where we're placing ourselves? What is that ideal? It's interesting to me as I, and Maharaj, please correct me whenever I'm going off here, if I do.
You please correct me if I say the wrong names. Anyway.
As I look at, the history of the Math, it's actually forged in a time of intensity, a time of great need, where Guru Maharaj, through so many things happened after the disappearance of Srila Saraswati Thakur. And Guru Maharaj withdrew ultimately, but did not withdraw from his life of seva, but withdrew from the organization, the society, and began his mat. But he called it Chaitanya Sarasavat Matth, which, as Maharaj said, is the conception of Mahaprabhu, the Chaitanya Saraswati, the actual teachings of Mahaprabhu, but also means the teachings of Mahaprabhu through Saraswati Thakur. And it's very instructive when we start to consider what did Guru Maharaj meditate upon when he left. Because actually, we're in a time of intensity right now. And what are we meditating on? At that time, very soon after that time, Guru Maharaj compiled this book, Sharanagati, Prapanna Jivanamritam. What is the actual substantive thing that makes the practice meaningful and full of life? What did Mahaprabhu come to teach? In Loving Search for the Last Servant, I read Guru Maharaj said, in this very kind of gist way, what Gita is saying, and Guru Maharaj says, Gita is saying that your environment is friendly to you. Adjust with it. Now at this point, when I had read that, we were reading Guru Maharaj's Gita, and we had read Gita for maybe like 6 years. And when somehow that jumped off the page, and it was like, wait, what? That's what Gita's saying? And then with just those couple of sentences, you read Gita again, you're like, oh my gosh, that's what Gita's saying. And that's the critical gift of Chaitanya Sarasavat Matth, is the teachings of Guru Maharaj, where everything with one short phrase comes into alignment and focus. And Guru Maharaj in another place, he says, Mahaprabhu came and gave the greatest gift to the world, that beauty is the controlling principle of reality. And of course, that idea is the foundation of Sharanagati. There's some incredible, wonderful thing that through the conception of Guru Maharaj we can understand. The whole book, Loving Search for the Lost Servant, actually is a reflection of some incredible conception. That we should be feeling separation from the Lord, but we're in this state where we're, kind of reaching toward that. But the Lord is feeling separation from us and is searching for us through His agency of Guru. That is an unbelievable news. And we have to adjust to that. And the process of adjusting to that, of taking His inputs from the environment and seeing how those are pulling us toward Him, that's a teaching of Guru Maharaj. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, and we're all familiar with that kirtan, where he says, Atyanta durlabha prem korivaridan shikaya sharanagati bhaktir pran. That Mahaprabhu came to teach what? Shikaya means teach. Sharanagati. Okay, wow, that's interesting. Like, if you want to practice Sharanagati, you have to be following Guru Maharaj. You have to be in the line of the teachers of Chaitanya Sarasavat Matha. You have to. You have to read this book. You have to worship this book. What does that mean? Ultimately, you have to be a this may sound fanatical, but this is what I truly believe. If you want to follow Mahaprabhu, you have to be a devotee of Chaitanya Sarasavat Matha. And somehow, I feel myself this like complete lack of qualification, and also this intensity of the time that we're in, where it's like, there's a small band of us, and I look around and I see the faces in this room, and it's like, man, these are like the creme de la creme of like human society, you know? Such rare and finely tuned devotees that are trying to serve this type of extremely fine ideal that the Yuga Avatar came to teach us. Very difficult, though. This may sound fanatical, but I really believe, like, you cannot follow, you can't even understand what that means. Just as it's so hard to even understand what Gita means, unless you have the clarity from Guru Maharaj and Gurudev. So, I see Chaitanya Sarasavat Matha being kind of forged in fire, where Guru Maharaj himself is withdrawing from society and really pondering, what is the essential thing? What is the essential thing? And then creating this wonderful, timeless, really infinite scripture to guide us, and presenting Mahaprabhu's teachings in a way that's very, very practical. Gurudev wrote, actually in the Pranam song to Gurudev, there's this line that says, Paramahamsa Dharma Gyan Shikara Prajari. There's a thing called Paramahamsa Dharma. What is a Paramahamsa? What does that word mean? A Hamsa means a swan. And the quality of a swan is that if there's milk in the water, the swan can put their beak in the water and just drink the milk and leave aside anything. And what it means to be a Paramahamsa is that in the midst of everything, you're able to find the nectar. Right? So Paramahamsa Dharma is this idea that there's actually sweetness in your life and sweetness in the environment, and that everything is coming to help you. And that's Guru Maharaj's conception. Guru Maharaj is teaching Paramahamsa Dharma. Gurudev is teaching Paramahamsa Dharma. And Paramahamsa Dharma, as Mataji said this morning, is reality. Reality actually is sweet. Reality actually is benevolent toward you. And that basis of outlook on life, the practicality of every moment being a potential moment of progression toward Prema Bhakti, which Guru Maharaj also said, Mahaprabhu came to give Prema Bhakti, the fifth end of life. And it's hard to overstate like how momentous this is, what Mahaprabhu came to give. Because all of religion, up until the Bhagavad Gita, like the Vedas are very, very vague. Some pointing toward clear, theistic conception, a lot pointing toward mukti, or the four ends of life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Some idea that at some point you need to get out, right? And this fifth end of life is not saying you need to get out. We're all marveling at Mahaprabhu's shloka, nadhanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitang, va, jagadisha kamaye, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's purport on that, which is going through and saying, whatever it is, I'm not asking for it. I'm not asking for vibhuti. I'm not asking for release from my karma. I'm not asking for release from duality. If I'm in happiness or in distress, whatever it might be, I just want to give love to you. And this idea that every level of reality can be existed within and in service to the Lord. That every single plane of experience and every dimension of reality is all existing to serve the Lord in multivariate ways. And that we're meant to contribute to that. That we exist because we're have the potential, as Guru Maharaj said, to add beauty to beauty. I mean, these things are so beautiful. Our soul has the potential to add beauty to beauty. Like this kinds of things are very inconceivable. But these are all coming from the mouth of Srila Guru Maharaj. So I think, like, what is Chaitanya Saraswat Matth? I think Chaitanya Saraswat Matth is the ideal place, wherever that is, where the conception of Mahaprabhu and the conception of Saraswati Thakur is pondered and worshipped and discussed and served. And ultimately, to those fortunate souls that may be seeking it, it's given to them by, the devotees of the Math. And I think it's absolutely crucial for the future of the world, but not just the world, of the universe. Like, I don't know how rare this is, but it feels to me like this is a rare thing in the universe and the rare thing in the multiverse. That somehow Guru Maharaj has come and given this clarity and this wonderful ideal of life that can be practiced anywhere, in any body, on any planet, in any dimension. It's not dependent on anything external. And it's all about the orientation and the proper posture toward existence. The deepest yoga, in other words. So, I feel just full of excitement on one hand, and I feel this sort of also, I want to say fear, but this intensity of like, this is a small group of people, and this thing is so wonderful and so critical for a progressive and meaningful life that is in motion every day. And it's incumbent on all of us to constantly worship it, constantly discuss it, constantly ponder it, and also to, whatever our capacity is, to bring others in connection with that. Because it is the mission of Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Saraswat Matth is the mission of Mahaprabhu. And again, this may sound fanatical, but I truly believe that you actually cannot properly worship Mahaprabhu outside of the line of Guru Maharaj and Gurudev. And without, their grace, their mercy, and their very fine and refined conception. So, but I think it's also nice to hear from anyone else because, I think this question is so critical, really, at this juncture. Because also we're, like I said, we're in an intense time. And even within the Math, there's so many little, like, fractions and factions and all these kinds of things. And it's like, what actually binds us all together? It has to be that very, very deep and rare conception. That very, very all-accommodating, universal, universal conception and universally applicable conception. All harmonizing. And that's, you can say these types of things are beginning our posture, but ultimately where this is all leading is some wonderful place that we worship from a distance, but this is the line of Radha Dasya. And it exists in the line of Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. And, you know, these rare shlokas, you know, there's a beautiful introductory essay at the beginning of Centenary Anthology which Maharaj put together. But it's by Janardhan Maharaj. And he mentions this shloka, Ayidina Dayardranatha He, that Madhavendra Puri. It said Madhavendra Puri tasted this and Mahaprabhu tasted this and not a third. But in Janardhan Maharaj's article, he's essentially saying Guru Maharaj is tasting this. It was a very beautiful article. But there's some wonderful nectar that we're pointed toward. You know, as we all kind of go through our life, like myself, you know, I was hearing the devotees today worshiping Guru Maharaj with their talk, and you know, I can just say for myself, I arrived in the Mat without really having any idea what the Mat is. And it's really through the grace of my parents, you know, Sri Mataji and Yasi Maharaj, and devotees like Hasupriya Prabhu. The first time I saw Gurudev was in the land in Sokel, when Gurudev was pulling up. And it's like that place existed, and he's coming to see those devotees. But I mean, you know, I'll be honest, like on the way there, I was like, you know, just listening to my Walkman, and, you know, I brought a basketball just so I wouldn't be bored, you know. But my life changed when I saw Gurudev by the grace of all these devotees. But, you know, a lot of us have come into the Mat without even really understanding what it is that we've come into connection with. And that's how you understand that there's causeless mercy. You know, you read Centenary Anthology, and it's so full of, like, you know, absolute harmony. Some of these chapters are just like nectar when you're suffering so much of whatever thing that life has thrown at you. And everything all of a sudden is harmonized. And it's like, Madhusudana Maharaj put that together, right? And so all these things are coming.
Mahananda Puri.
But all these things are coming through like the grace of the devotees. But we actually have to start to ponder, like, wow, we came into connection with this thing, and I didn't even understand what it was. And I still don't. But at the same time, I have some inkling that I didn't have before. And some appreciation of it. And there's only one way to reciprocate with that. You can't reciprocate with this causeless mercy, this super high conception, this all-accommodating, applicable conception at every moment of your life. You can't just say thanks. You have to give your life back to that. You have to give and sacrifice your energy. And, you know, this thing is I don't know, I think of Kamala Dala Jala. This doesn't have to exist on this planet. This rare and fine thing, most of the history of this planet, it didn't exist. And it doesn't have to exist. It's existing through the hearts of the devotees and the devotees that are worshiping that and concentrating on it and trying to please Gurudev and Guru Maharaj by doing, you know, as Krishna says, the knowledge sacrifice, right? Ponder this. Put your time toward it. Put your mouth toward it. Put your discussion toward it. Put whatever your mental facility, your manas, whatever your wisdom facility, your buddhi, whatever it is, try to present yourself to receive that and to worship it. And be a devotee of the Mat. And maybe reciprocate, you know, by giving your life toward the gift that you've been given. So that's my humble submission, you know, really from a place, I would say, still of ignorance.
So, such a high standard of devotion that we're talking about. Saraswati Thakur established, Guru Maharaj maintained and developed. But we have people that come that, you know, aren't even vegetarians. And, you know, gradually, you know, they'll get some sukriti and correct themselves. But, you know, where's the room for them?
The question's to you, I
Oh,
suppose.
okay.
So both of
Well,
you.
I mean,
okay.
I'll say a couple sentences because, I hope Ramsundar doesn't get angry at me, but one of the things that's been
Where's Ramsundar? He's here.
one of the things that's been amazing to me is sometimes people show up and they're projecting a particular image of existence at the time that you first meet them, and very quickly something else becomes shown. And of course, anyone who's been in a temple knows this. Like, Gurudev said, treat everyone that comes into the temple with some respect, because you don't know who they are. But if I can be a little bit frank about, like my relationship with, like, Ram was like an awesome athlete, basically like a soccer player, and didn't really go to class at all, and was not exactly the kind of boyfriend you want for your daughter. Right?
Good for you, Ram.
And it's actually like amazing. Like at that time we were, because sometimes we go through and read different scriptures, and we were reading Mahabharata at the time. And Ram was just like enthralled with Mahabharata, and he's like, he's hearing these ideals of like, celibacy or something like that. He's just like, whoa, he's getting like fired up about it. Who is this guy? And then like you'll go downstairs and they're like ditching school and they're reading Golden Volcano. And you're like, I want to be mad, but no, it's actually like the most amazing thing. And
We have to say something about 643 if you're going to talk about it.
Right. And then, we're reading chapter 6 of the Gita, and Krishna's basically telling Arjuna, he goes through, karma yoga, which is kind of like, exponential, like, beginning to the Gita, which is like, yeah, just do everything without attachment to the result. And then jnana yoga, and then karma sannyasa yoga, and then he's in dhyana yoga, and he's telling Arjuna, just control your mind, and then just, concentrate. And like at that point, Arjuna's just like, what if I can't?
What if there was a person who could?
Let's imagine there's a guy who actually couldn't do it. And Krishna, says that very merciful thing that you can't lose on this path. If you try toward real good, nothing bad can happen to you. Nahi kalyana kaschit durvitam tachagachu, which again, a Guru Maharaj aphorism in English shloka. Guru Maharaj translates that verse down to 3 words: sincerity is invincible, which is very beautiful. But then he's saying, you'll begin wherever you left off. And then Ramsundar's like, oh, right? And that was like this thing where like, he's 643, right? And then start C43 everywhere. But like within a short time, COVID happened. Ramsundar's in the temple, Saffron Brahmachari, taking care of like six sick devotees, including Keshwara Prabhu, and doing all the puja and cooking all the prasadam. And like memorizing Premadana Stotram. And then you're like, okay. Some people are born, and then, like texting me, like verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita that he finds to be like tasteful. And I'm just reading some of these and going like, wow, that is a great verse. So, I mean, in one sense, we exist sometimes to be a place for those people to come and tap back in, or whatever is happening. Who knows? But also, there's just mercy for everyone in whatever stage of life that they're in. That's the way I see it. And you know, Gurudev was like an incarnation of mercy. You know, there's so many people that he initiated and that he gave his connection to, who you might, you know, if they were to take a Bhakti test in ISKCON, you know, they're probably not going to get passed, and maybe, you know, sorry, you didn't qualify for initiation, Prabhu, or whatever, you know, like some, you know, they're trying to formalize everything to make sure everyone's in the standard and, you know, all that stuff. But it's like, you think you get to a standard where you get the mercy of Mahaprabhu? You don't. Nobody does. And there is this wonderful idea of the lowest receiving the highest. You know what I mean? It's like we hear that from Gurudev, that Mahaprabhu came, and he's like, he came as in his mercy incarnation. And what's the most merciful thing? Those who are the least deserving receive the greatest thing. That's the definition of mercy, you know, that Gurudev said. Which is a beautiful idea. That we exist really as like a portal of mercy. That anyone, regardless of their qualification or their qualities, can receive some connection to the highest thing. And that highest thing really is the conception of Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev and their own mercy. So, you know, in a certain sense, it's kind of like, in a real messy way, we're just out there trying to be ambassadors of that. And, you know, hopefully to be utilized as tools of that greater flow of ahoituki kripa, you know, this causeless mercy that is raining down somehow on this planet.
I think in that, I was thinking about this too, because we have the structure, or you could almost say this, and Guru Maharaj explains this too, in one class to, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting.
Mom, no, you're not, no, please.
In the
Mom, you're allowed to.
She's your mum too.
And some leading devotees of ISKCON, which happened for many years, were coming to Srila Guru Maharaj and asking questions about how do we do this and how do we do that, and when should this thing be and how should this happen, and the organization of what was known at that time as Krishna consciousness. And then finally Guru Maharaj said, but this is not what, he said, this is all under the category of what is favorable and unfavorable. And he said, what is the essence of that? That is something completely different. We have the scaffolding, which is our program, and all these things are super, super helpful for us. And all of our temples are doing these things. We all have our schedule, our puja, all of these things are in place. But what is that holding? What is the ideal which is being promoted by, what are the 6 limbs of which those are 2? What are they 6 limbs of? We can forget that. We can forget why we do what we do. And Guru Maharaj said, what you consider to be favorable may actually be offense if you cannot find the correct mood of surrender. Because we're just doing I wouldn't even want to talk about how much I know about that. But I think that we can sometimes forget what these things are holding up. And this is a very important talk, really. I could post the link to it. It really changed my life, actually. It probably wasn't that useful, but It's important to know what it is that these practices are practicing. What it is that we're trying to achieve. Because Krishna consciousness and surrender, they're synonymous. What is my relationship with the Lord? Are we going to like have a meeting every day and see what we're going to think? No, it's what He thinks is what we're going to think. What He wants is what we're going to want. His flow of His divine will is what we want to serve. That's super high. But when Srila Prabhupada came to the West, he could have gone, well, they don't know nothing. I'm just going to preach sort of like Hinduism, because they're not going to understand that. But because he preached the conception of Saraswati Thakur, we came up to that, or we got the opportunity to come to that. So we're preaching this conception. And I've seen new people come into the temple, and you're saying, everything is the will of the Lord, and we're seeing it incorrectly, we're seeing it according to our all these things, and they're sitting there going like this, and they've never walked in a temple before. It's not that the heart is not searching for this. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I didn't mean to go so long, but
That's nice.
we want to preach that idea.
Just a small thought. There's that story in the scriptures. There's this kind of Vedic cow, and like in each age, one leg is cut. And then in Kali Yuga, there's one leg that's left, and it's the truth. There's still something within humans that's like resonating with the truth. And to the extent, because there's something very mysterious about the world of sacrifice. Like it has its own gravity inside of it. And so the very mysterious thing for me of listening to Srila Guru Maharaj is he's speaking this extreme truth, but you're feeling relieved. Like you're not necessarily hearing what you want to hear, but somehow you feel set free. And I find that very amazing, because it's unexpected, right? Because the whole problem is that I've been kind of enforcing what I think will make me happy on the environment, and then nothing complies. So the nature of truth is that because it's what reality actually is that it has some kind of strange curative effect. And so, though we see that Srila Guru Maharaj's teachings are refined beyond belief and high, there's something about the very act of speaking the truth or attempting to speak the truth, because who are we to speak the truth, right? And then that's also a thing, I think, as a practitioner, is that you're taking a risk, right? And that's what an offering is why would a flawed person like me that's completely covered be able to offer something that's right? So it's the offering itself is flawed, but because the Lord is merciful, in the fire of self-sacrifice, some mercy is coming in response for my flawed offering, right? I mean, that's how I feel. I somehow arrived to Gurudev, and in response to a flawed offering, grace is coming, because there's some mysterious thing going on. And because temples are sort of anthems of sacrifice and surrender to the Lord, to Guru, to Vaishnava. We hope that a Vaishnava will come into a temple, right? That this shelter will be there and some truth will come from their mouth. It's so amazing, and it can resonate. And so we have to take that risk, so to speak, of trying to speak the highest possible truth that we can. And whatever will come from that has to be good. And then to know that to whatever extent that it pierces, according to so many, there's unlimited factors in terms of what people perceive in any moment, right? When the classical, and sometimes we talk about that. It's okay, we're going to talk, if we're only have 20 minutes for class in Salt Lake, we're going to just, read Guru Maharaj's own words, and to our own surprise, it's full. And really I can say, to my own surprise, people are singing who never met Srila Gurudev or Srila Guru Maharaj, tunes of the mat at the top of their lungs. I find that like very surprising. I'm going, oh, like in history and time, like may this tune stay alive and like keep being offered to Mahaprabhu, because ultimately I'm going to be a piece of dust at some point in time, but we hope that Mahaprabhu's like care is going to continue on. We hope. We have no idea, right? We're just trying to offer ourselves. But I think of that where you go, yeah, I'm going to try to the best extent that I can to pursue something, knowing that the ideal is going to refine and I'm going to refine, ideally. And let the chips fall where they may, because whatever comes from that attempt has to be good. Because ultimately there is, despite all the layers of fog, and I do love like so much that sentence of Srila Guru Maharaj where he said, we must never forget that inner Messiah who brought us here in the first place. You know, it's like tremendously amazing. Yeah. So that's sometimes what I think of, where it's like, yeah, you're trying to follow high ideal. Yeah, it's Kali Yuga. Yeah, things are pretty crazy. Yes, it's getting darker in some sense, but also like the light shines brighter as the dark gets darker, right? That's like posture, Mahaprabhu, like hand up and hand, like really, like we don't know what the highest high is and we don't know what the lowest low is. We have inklings and it's chamatkara that something high can go to someone low. So anyways,
where's your
for whatever it's worth.
Prabhuji, please.
Just one question.
Okay, yeah. My voice is quite loud. So my question is like, as we've been saying that it is to any devotee here who can answer to this, like Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх is about the ideal, and like Maharaj said that like Shrila Shridhar Maharaj would even say that he will close the door of the temple if it's not aligning with that ideal. So like nowadays, how, like what type of relationship or connection should we develop towards, we could say, a temple that is under the banner, under the name of Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх, and like, or established by any of our guru in the Guru Parampara, and like, but we can see that maybe they are not fully aligned with the ideal. So what type of connection or relationship should we keep with that, and how should we carry on? Yeah.
They're all looking at you, not me. Anyhow, Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх is also based on mercy, and it has its history of how it became established, and how Chайтанья Сарасват Матх actually came sanctioned is by the grace of Nityananda Prabhu. Guru Maharaj, after extensive substantial preaching on behalf of Srila Bhaktisiddhanthu Saraswati Thakur all over India, where he was very instrumental in several mats and the preaching, substantial preaching throughout India. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanthu Saraswati Thakur's disappearance from the world, Srila Guru Maharaj tried to keep everything together. He's trying to help in all the departments of harmony. And then finally means Guru Maharaj, after 4 years of quarreling amongst all of the leaders, and then Guru Maharaj saw this is in Guru Maharaj's own words, and you'll find, I don't think it's in a book, but you can hear Guru Maharaj said, then I could not stay with all these quarreling gentlemen. So the ideal of what was Srila Saraswati Thakur's mission had become covered by the desire for property, for men, for money, for prestige, etc. And Guru Maharaj, he was a man of purity, he was a devotee of purity, and he saw this is it's not getting sorted out. He tried to support one person, he tried to give some support for what was taking place, and then that turned upside down on itself And so anyway, Guru Maharaj decided, I cannot stay with these people. But he said, you see how things are going then. He said, but I could not leave while still some of my godbrothers were in jail. So once they had got released from jail, then at that time I thought, this is my opportunity. Guru Maharaj then went hiddenly. He just quietly left, made no disturbance. He went hiddenly to a place on the banks of the Ganges, and by the grace of his brother, who gave him a small amount of money to rent a simple place on the banks of the Ganges, he engaged in his bhajana. And I think it's Sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, Volume 3, possibly 4, Srila Guru Maharaj is describing about what he was thinking and how he came to write this book, Shri Shri Prapana Jivanamritam. And he said, I wrote this because I seriously had to think why I had come and given my life to the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he reflected on this, and Guru Maharaj, not with any uncertainty, but it was like gathering everything together. And he said, I made this book, I not only compiled, it's not just a collection of inspirational verses, it's a very logical sequence of verses, and with his aphorisms, which are all important to help us to go what Guru Maharaj is presenting by this quotation. Then on top of that we build this, top of that we build this. And Guru Maharaj says, I produced this book, Shri Shri Prapana Jivanamritam, for my own reflection and benefit, to reinforce why I came to Srila Saraswati Thakur's mission. What am I doing? Like, why am I trying to surrender? And for the benefit of others who may find themselves in such a situation. Mm-hmm. And then, this is while he's on the, basically hiddenly, maybe he completed it when already the devotees had found him, but he was hiddenly on the bank of the Ganges doing this. And then presently, the devotees did find Guru Maharaj. Somebody met him, and then anyway, another of his godbrothers pleaded with Guru Maharaj, no, come, we will make something together. And it was, who became Bhakti, it's Keshava Maharaj. Keshava Maharaj, the Devananda Gaudiya Maharaj. Is it Bhakti Vigyan? Pragyan. Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj. Now, if I'm wrong somewhere, because there is some history written, but Gurudev has explained this. But Guru Maharaj, so he tried to draw Guru Maharaj, please come and again try to do something for the people. We can do something, make a temple, try to do something for the public and for the devotees, we'll have a center. And Guru Maharaj, so he was drawn. For a while he came and said, okay, then I try. So he went, and then at the temple, so this is coming from Guru Maharaj, I've heard it, from Gurudev I've heard it more, like a bit more detail, etc. But Guru Maharaj came, and then for some time he's trying to work with establishing the Devananda Gaudiya Math, which is just along the road from our temple on your way to Navadip into the town center. And then Guru Maharaj said, but then they are making a committee for running the temple. And then they're trying to see how to make the temple function. And then they had this plan that they are making a committee, and then everything will be decided by vote. And then Guru Maharaj said, so if everybody votes something which I know Srila Saraswati Thakur does not want, then it must happen. They said, yes, it will go by majority vote. And Guru Maharaj said, okay. Then this is not what my ideal is. I mean, his ideal was Saraswati Thakur's ideal. And Guru Maharaj knew Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur the best. I mean, that's shown by all of those exalted God brothers coming to him, even in the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, after a lecture, after a talk. Guru Maharaj's own God brothers, and they're very capable persons. I mean, really, Srila Saraswati Thakur drew from the top end of society some very capable, as Gurudev says, generals for continuing his mission, for speaking that same voice, Srila Saraswati Thakur's voice, out for spreading Mahaprabhu's message. They came to him, those senior persons came to Guru Maharaj for clarification. What was the points that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was making? So it's not only that after Srila Saraswati Thakur had disappeared, that the senior devotees would come and consult with Guru Maharaj. They would consult with him at the time of Srila Saraswati Thakur's presence. So they know. So Srila Guru Maharaj, really, he did know Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's intention. Srila Saraswati Thakur graced him with the current of the Sampradaya, everything. And he only is standing for the ideal. And if you want to make a society that runs with the vote and everyone votes, and then okay, but that's your society. That's not where I fit in. And then is it today or yesterday? It was Sakhi Charan Babaji's today, disappearance day, is it? Who can you just check on the calendar? Disappearance or appearance?
Disappearance.
Sure?
Yes.
Okay. So it was he who, in his earlier time when he wasn't a Babaji, it is he who gave Guru Maharaj the opportunity for some land. He offered Guru Maharaj, I can purchase some land for you. I give it to you. And he was wealthy supporter of Srila Saraswati Thakur, and then after Saraswati Thakur he's got wealth, but he wants to use it properly, and he, by the way, helped ISKCON, correct? The first land from ISKCON, I think, came with his energy perhaps, or through his, anyway, some connection. Always the well-wisher of the Vaishnavas. And then he got this land for Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj, he agreed. He said, okay, if you give the land, then Guru Maharaj, he decided, I need a place where I will be there. And who will come, they will come. But it'll run by my rules, not by a committee. Because Guru Maharaj knows. And so he wants the temple to be Srila Saraswati Thakur's pure current, pure line. This is what Srila Guru Maharaj wanted, and I gave that expression just a bit before. When later, when our time, 40 plus years later, or actually, yes, 40 plus years later, in our time when we are there, when something happened, Guru Maharaj angry and saying, this is my Guru Maharaj's mat, and these things are going on here. Just always he considered the place wasn't his. He's made it to be the place, refuge, not the refuge, retreat, as we get in some of the translations, like the retreat where you will just hear and have Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's conception. So this is how, and not under a committee, not under anything, and not only that, Srila Guru Maharaj, when the deities arrived, he had everything legally put in the deities' names, the property in the deities' names. And anyhow, this is, if you like, the basis of the history, but still, before Guru Maharaj said yes about staying in Navadip, then he considered seriously about where he will spend, what he was considering at that time, that the last days of his life, the last years of his life. His health wasn't so good, and he had a fully active preaching life in the service of Srila Saraswati Thakur, and all squabbling, fighting over buildings and position, prestige, all the things that go on in the world. Money, fame, women, these things Guru Maharaj and Gurudev warn us about always in in their teaching and scripture about those who are coming into a position of authority. And these things are all going on. And so Guru Maharaj didn't want anything to do with that, only for the pure life. He's thinking, okay, now I won't be preaching anymore, but I'll have a place for my bhajan. And he considered in Vrindavan, the place of Rupa Goswami, Kadam Kandi. He considered in Puri, the Gambhira, the place of Mahaprabhu in Puri. And he considered Navadip, Koladip, particularly in Navadip, the place where sins are not considered, basically. Well, they are considered, by the way. Gurudev said about Koladip, we see is Aparad Bhanjanapat, which means it's a place where if you come, as much as you surrender, your sins are gone. And it's a place where Mahaprabhu, in his most generous, the most generous Lord Mahaprabhu, in his most generous aspect, resolved countless sinners who come and ask forgiveness for all the nonsense they'd done as students against him. So there were these three places on the short list of Guru Maharaj, of where he'll retire. We say retire. And out of the three, then he got advice why Kadam Kandi would not be so practical at that time, because of the people whose hands it was in and how it was run. Similarly in Puri, but that left Navadip, Koladip. And then before agreeing and thinking, yes, I will settle in Koladip, he went by foot and bullock cart to Ekar Chakra. And if you go to Ekar Chakra today, actually the road is probably now quite good, which is a bit disappointing, because it used to be terrible. And so the devotees would take 2 days to go. They'd go halfway, they would stop at one town, stay overnight in the town and go the next day. And also for a good reason, because if you go in the evening at that time means our time, the 80s and 90s, if you went in to Ekar Chakra in the evening, probably have less worldly possessions than when you started going, because of the gundas.
It's a good way to get rid of karma.
You clear off your material attachments. But anyway, Guru Maharaj went there by bullock cart to Nityananda's appearance place to ask Nityananda's permission before establishing the temple. It's not just, I'm going to make a temple, I get money, I do this, I do that. But he's going to ask Nityananda permission. And then he went there and bowing to the deity of Nityananda, he himself told how clearly he got this message from Nityananda that you are asking for my grace, my mercy to stay there. But why should I give my mercy when you have received so much in your store, so much treasure you have received, but you are not distributing it, you are not giving it? Because Guru Maharaj had not vowed, but he decided not to initiate, because all of the fighting between everybody, and then they'll think, he's initiating and competing with them. Like this, these things happen generation by generation. And then, so Guru Maharaj has no party spirit. Guru Maharaj is aloof to everything. And so he's simply thinking he will retire. But then from Nityananda, it came strongly to him that Nityananda, not giving his grace, is not happy that Guru Maharaj is not sharing that treasure that he has received, not giving initiations. And so that Gurudev said, so I contemplated, and then I decided that, all right, if any sincere person will come, then I will give connection, but I will not actively go out to recruit like that, to try to draw persons to come. And so with that basis, Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх was founded. So it's actually founded on the mercy of Nityananda. And Nityananda is merciful to the fallen souls. And when we think of Chайтанья Сарасват Матх, we know of Chайтанья Сарасват Матх and basically the Western world knows of it from the very end of the 70s and more principally from the 80s. In that period of time from 1980 to 1988 when Srila Gurudev passed away, when the content of the books of Search for Sri Krishna, Sri Guru and His Grace, these books are all from the beginning of the 1980s, of Srila Guru Maharaj's talks. And we see in those days, those later days of Guru Maharaj, how broad Guru Maharaj was, how generous he was in sharing, how much he spoke to the devotees. But Gurudev, he is the one who drew this out of Guru Maharaj, who himself drew the generous, that like broad generosity aspect from Guru Maharaj to the world. And as one of our dear older sannyasis said, I feel so sad that I couldn't be here in the mat in the earlier days of Guru Maharaj. And Gurudev's very first response was, you could never have stayed here. Guru Maharaj was very strict. So Guru Maharaj was very strict. The leniency, if you like to say, or the generosity aspect, really, it's Srila Gurudev who drew this aspect of Guru Maharaj, and himself really was that embodiment of leniency, of generosity, something like this. But it's not that anyone could do anything and everything. There were guidelines. And it's not that Gurudev didn't send people out of the mat. He sent them out of the mat. But not on like a first offense or something, with affection trying to correct. But when habits are not corrected, you cannot stay in the mat. You come and some bad habit is there, then some little time to correct that. But when still not being corrected and then affectionately told, no, you can't stay in the mat if you keep doing this, and still keep doing, then, again, and then there comes a point, it drags everybody else down. If somebody's doing something wrong and other people see, and then they think, they get away with it, I can do it. And so Gurudev has sent devotees out from the mat. But still doesn't mean that they're sent out from the devotional life. And we have one devotee who said, I'm very grateful that such and such devotee was ousted from the mat. Because after he was ousted from the mat, I met him in another place in India. And I was searching for a guru, and I was in a place and he was looking, and he started looking like a Babaji. He was smoking dope. And let's be clear, smoking dope, taking intoxication, doing all these things is not approved by Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. Let that be clear. And not only not approved, you can't do that in the mat. And we know in the Western world, and so many people do this, different things, but then the youngsters grow up and they see it, they think, then Gurudev approved. He did not approve. So we must be clear that intoxication is intoxication. It is illusion by definition. Not approved. But anyhow, this particular case, a devotee was ousted from the temple. It's not that you can just keep on staying in the temple and everything. But he went and then he met, and he got his long hair, everything. And then he met somebody who was searching for a guru, and she asked him, about a guru and everything, and I want to meet a real guru. And he said, you want to meet real guru? Real guru? You go to Navadip Chaitanya Sarasath Match. So that same person, he had some function in other places. So it's not that someone was rejected. And so this mercy of Nityananda is mercy. It is mercy. But to stay in where is the not the emblem, it's the oasis, away from the desert of the material world, the oasis away from the wrong things that happen, we need good association, and the Chaitanya Saraswat Match was that place of good association. And to visit the mat and to live in the mat may be two different things. Because to live in the mat there are definitely some standard. And it's Guru Maharaj, his standard was, if you do not attend Mangalati for 3 days, you go out from the mat. Everybody in the mat will attend Mangalati and evening Aarti and do seva and take prasadam together. And prasadam is given, not that you go and take it. Prasadam is mercy, it's given. Guru Maharaj he was strict. It's Gurudev who negotiated with Guru Maharaj on the mercy platform. And so, I mean, a little bit, I don't know famously or not, but in Chaitanya Saraswat Match, if someone doesn't attend Mangalati, they must fast from breakfast. No breakfast. But you think, oh, that's a bit severe. But Guru Maharaj was, if they don't attend Mangalati, okay, for 3 days, then they are not serious to stay here. If you want to live in the mat, you follow the routine. And that's normal, you can say. Just here on the other side here, the Buddhists have Buddhist retreats. And now I don't think there is one, because I don't hear that morning chanting, but they do, you know about this, they have the retreats. If you go on a Buddhist retreat, if you go on anything, you have the gong, everyone gets up, they do their bathing, they come in the temple, and then you have your program. So, if we want to learn spiritual life, we have a standard to learn. Guru Maharaj was that standard bearer. But the generosity side came through Gurudev. And then devotees come, and with bad habits, not just from the West, from the East. As Guru Maharaj said, we had many opium eaters who come. Opium, more readily available. Well, maybe, I don't know where to buy it, I'm sorry I can't help you with that. But, they have opium eaters, so their the brains all fogged up with opium. But they leave that when you come to the mat. If you don't, you don't stay. So, there's the generosity aspect, and then I probably went off the line of your question. Oh, but what is Chaitanya Saraswat Match? It's the purity of Mahaprabhu, of Srila Saraswati Thakur, of Guru Maharaj, of Gurudev, who's drawing everybody to that purity line. And Gurudev was very firm about the point about all the ashram temples around the world, under spiritual guidance of Chaitanya Saraswat Match. And we know that under spiritual guidance of, according to local time, place and circumstance, all sorts of things go on in different temples. We know, a different standard, different way of doing things. But they've got the general spiritual guidance of Guru Maharaj and Gurudev in their voluminous teachings. But how that's put into practice, that will depend on the time, place and circumstance, the local leader, the local persons, etc. And actually, Gurudev also knew very well how difficult it was to get devotees full time in the temple, which is probably one good reason why he negotiated with Guru Maharaj. If they don't attend Mangalati for 3 days, please don't kick them out. It's hard enough to get them to stay in the temple for a while. Because you do need a cook, you do need people to clean, to wash, to do the puja, to do all these various items in the temple, just the base crew. And Navadip had a base crew, and it was quite small. Actually, the base crew was quite small, and for much of the year, we'd be actually a handful of devotees. In the Mangalati, in the evening Aarti, we'd be a handful of devotees. And then from this time, yes, Guru Maharaj's Vyasa Puja time through till Gaura Purnima time, then we'd have more devotees because the climate is easier. And it comes through Christmas and then the New Year like this. But after Gaura Purnima, generally devotees would disappear very quickly, even though they were saying, no, I want to stay here for 2 years. But after Gaurapanima, when the sun gets hotter and everything gets a bit more difficult, then there's a good reason why to go somewhere else. So we'll be very quiet during the summer often. But Chaitanya Saraswat Matth is that ideal, and Gurudev was strong to say that the other centers, including Dum Dum Park, which is basically we see as the first center, like a satellite of Chaitanya Saraswat Matth, but it's under the spiritual guidance of Chaitanya Saraswat Matth. And Guru Maharaj's view and Gurudev's view is Chaitanya Saraswat Matth will be pure and clean. The conception of Srila Saraswati Thakur. And we must learn from Guru Maharaj, we must learn from Gurudev of how to handle the transitions of the generations of gurus, because it's not going to stop still in one place. And this is our gentle complaint to Krishna. Please leave a permanent guru who will be there and keep us going. I mean, that will be wonderful. But through the transitions, then we must learn how the great masters have managed that. And we must try to do that. But we know very well, we cannot change other people's minds. We can explain, but we must do the right thing. So, there is only confusion if we don't follow Guru Maharaj and Gurudev and start to get into isms about personalities. If we know Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Matth is Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, we'll be happy, peaceful and safe. And we can try to convince others until we're blue in the face, and then maybe sometimes say yes, yes, and then within 2 minutes something completely different is happening. So we understand we can only explain as best we can and show what Guru Maharaj and Gurudev have said and done in these circumstances. And then the world is going to go on by the will of the Lord. But we must stay clean and clear. So Guru Maharaj saw exactly what happened when Srila Saraswati Thakur passed away. And Guru Maharaj was older. He was older than many of his godbrothers, including Srila Prabhupada, and including Srila Jajava Maharaj, whose disappearance we observed recently. And Guru Maharaj, he's thinking that he will leave the world before most of his godbrothers, because his health also wasn't so good. But Guru Maharaj saw what happened with all those various missions from the breakup due to all these quarreling gentlemen, due to the breakup, you can say the natural diversion of the main trunk of the tree of Srila Saraswati Thakur, how naturally different branches came. Because we have to look from maybe it's the will of the Lord that all these quarrels come, so that the tree branches out. But with all these societies, they're all naturally must be saying, we represent Srila Saraswati Thakur. Otherwise, what are they doing? Or once it's, I am, then anyone coming is going to be a little bit cautious, but they're representing Saraswati Thakur. So everywhere, they've got a guru, and we are representing Saraswati Thakur. And so Guru Maharaj saw what happened when each guru was passing away, and what was happening afterwards. The devotees are coming to Guru Maharaj for counseling, for understanding. Guru Maharaj had so much hands-on practical experience and could understand what's going to take place. Hence, in Sri Guru and His grace, you see, he says, when the Guru disappears, it is expected there will be disturbances. And even says, we can't expect that we're going to have a peaceful life. There will be disturbances. But Guru Maharaj teaching how to adjust and how to deal with all of these disturbances, and begins with oneself and not pointing fingers to who is disturbing. It begins with ourselves. So this adjustment principle. And so we must be true to our ideal. So Chaitanya Saraswat Matth, really, it is wherever we can find, or where the clearest place we can find that ideal being maintained. So Chaitanya Saraswat Matth is alive and well, but it is in a current, as always. And there are various branches, sub-branches, and kind of representing, and they've got some things from here and some things from there. But wherever we find, just as in the description of Krishna, wherever we find, or God, wherever we find the clearest description of the Lord, where it's being transmitted, oh, this I'm finding is very clear. If we're clear to our faith, we'll go there. So similarly, we need to be clean to our faith, our search, and look and see, and wherever we really can feel, here I'm finding, here is the current, here I'm getting some connection. We shall try our best to take those good things from there. And everywhere there is fault in this world. So we mustn't expect, perfection from everywhere. But just because someone's not perfect, they can't teach us. And especially teach us, all the basics, the basic things. We must be very grateful and not to dismiss everybody because they're not pure, they're not Srila Prabhupada, they're not like Srila Prabhupada, they're not like Guru Maharaj, they're not like Guru. Maybe not, but they can tell you to be vegetarian, to chant Hare Krishna, they can tell you to read Bhagavad Gita, they can tell you where Guru Maharaj is explaining stuff, they can help you. So, not to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And we must try to take all the good things, and we know that our generation is the recruited generation. Gurudev made it very clear to those who are around him, really. He made it very clear. So, we're not here to pretend, we're here for reality. And where we can be connected and try to be in an environment which is practicing those teachings. We should do that in our countries, in our homes, and as we are doing, we try to come together with some very, basic ABC things which we should do everywhere. Gurudev, we are with Gurudev, we're with Guru Maharaj for many years, and bringing devotees to them, trying to keep the harmony in the temple. And there are some things that we know Gurudev really does not want devotees to do, and some things we want that he does want us to do. And anybody's heard the verse, Trinadapi Sunichina Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadina Kitanya Saraharihi. Humility, tolerance, giving honor to others. Not to criticize anyone, and not to discuss the character of others, gossip. These things, they're there in Srila Saraswati Thakur's advice, they're there in Guru Maharaj's advice, they're there in Gurudev's advice. They're there in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advice. And so we must be careful about this. And we have to protect ourselves. We should, many places, Mahaprabhu instructing Raghunath Das Goswami not to hear or engage in Gramya Katha, and what to speak of gossip and criticism and this about devotees, and it's a very dangerous place. But we shouldn't get involved in also politicians and movie stars and football players and all sorts of things which the newspapers love to give gossip and scandal and everything. It's got nothing to do with us, and especially nothing to do with us about the gossip of devotees, this, that and the other. If someone's a devotee, there's a devotee inside there. And that's the part we focus on. And Guru Maharaj extensively explains this. And otherwise we'll be polluted. And we are at stake. So we are at fault to allow ourselves to get dragged into these things. And we must be very careful. And so Chaitanya Saraswat Match is where there is no criticism of others. Chaitanya Saraswat Match is where we are not engaged in all the mundane topics of the world, the gossips, where we are humble, tolerant, give honor to others. And this is the beauty of this festival and similar festival, because all the talks, everything that's taking place, they're all about the good things of the devotees. And the devotees who got kicked out of the mat, I can happily chant their glories, their glorious side, and so can Gurudev. So can Gurudev. And not only can Gurudev, so did Gurudev. He pointed out the good qualities. And that devotee, that one devotee is Peter Vasprabhu. Now he's passed away. And he not passed away, also he won't mind we give him as an example. Because he knows he's a fallen soul. He knows he can't live in the temple. And when he left from the temple, also by arrangement, Gurudev was just around the front. And so I was the monster who Gurudev said, no, you must send him out from the temple. So we sent him out from the temple. But as he's coming out, he met Gurudev. And actually, he first asked me, because Gurudev was in the book room, and he was staying in the back corner room. And he asked me, before going, can I just see Gurudev one time? So I asked Gurudev, and Gurudev said, yes, he can come and see me. So I went with him. And it was a completely affectionate dealing between the two. He's faithful, this, that, and the other, but he's got a weakness. He can't stay in the temple. But weakness is weakness. And also, if you do wrong, you kind of die early. He died early, unfortunately, but we can't, we can think. Srila Prabhupada himself says, taking intoxicant, they think and all they're doing is shortening their valuable life, like this. So we must be realistic about things too, in a practical way. But anyway, my point is that Gurudev happily chant his glories, even though he can't fit into the temple. And most people cannot live in a temple all their lives. This is the practical experience. It very much we see it's a place, the temples are, where devotees, if they're fortunate, they really can stay, but in proper consciousness. There's no point in staying in a temple just, I got somewhere to eat and like this, and I don't have to pay rent or something. To stay in a temple means an active life. But generally we can say, devotees come to the temple, learn how to structure their lives, get all the good tips, get the faith in Mahaprabhu and the line, and keep that going when they go home. And yesterday or the day before, I think one of the topics was the theme of how to maintain our Krishna conscious life at home. Because maybe every one of you here, well, Ram Sundar, but everyone goes to their home basically. That's the reality. So Chaitanya Saraswat Matth is that pure ideal. And Guru Maharaj gave that ideal way before the mat had established beyond being a thatched hut. And that was that verse that he composed, and his godbrothers, some of them joked with him, that verse, I can't read that, but I can read that. And I used to know it offhand. I don't remember all the slokas I used to. But this is, jumped. And those of you who know it, you can say it together slowly. Shrimad Chaitanya Saraswat Matavara Udgita Kirti Jaya Shrim Bibhat Shambhati Gangatata Nikata Nabadipa Koladri Raje Yatra Shri Gaura Saraswata Mata Nirata Gaura Gata Grinanti Nityang Rupanuga Shri Kritamati Guru Gauranga Radha Jitasha. So anyway, people are leaving. It's because it's 10 to 6. But anyway,
Everybody's hungry.
you're hungry. I can't believe you're hungry. It's prasadam. No, they didn't cook prasadam, did they? Anyway, I've said many, but there are many more things to say, by the way, if we really want to address what is Chaitanya Saraswat Match. But we don't want to make it, a lecture, which it's already become. But, what we can say too is we have been around the world, now not. I try to tell devotees, I don't travel. So please, because we try to travel, we try to give equal support to everybody. We try to say things like we're saying here. Sometimes we're not even allowed to say anything. So, we try our best. And finally, COVID came, and then now we have access to Zoom. Who wishes to, have some regular Harikatha, Zoom is there, and don't have to come. Anybody wants to come, it's there, and there are several programs a week. But what was I going to say? Oh yes, so we used to travel around the world and we see some kind of a structure of Chaitanya Saraswat Matth in some way or another around the world in the temples. But one thing which is consistently different is the quality of prasadam. In the mat, those who were there on a general basis, okay, Gurudev in the later years, for the Westerners, he made things a little more opulent for them to eat, but for years, it's rice dal sabji. You know what you're going to have for lunch every day, except Ekadashi, when it'll be watery sabji and fried potatoes and watery sago, something like that. So anyway, and no breakfast on Dwadashi, or the breakfast after Ekadashi. The mat does not serve breakfast. So everywhere I say, well, yes, doing a good job, but prasadam is always a different standard in the Western world, where I don't know we need it, but devotees feel like they need variety and need this, need that. And you all watch
We're malnourished now.
you all watch Facebook and everything, so you think you need vitamin A 12, 99 grams, vitamin D 99, 44 grams, and this, that, and the other. Otherwise you're going to have a sore nose or something. So, you read a lot of stuff like this, but in the mat, it was very simple. And anyway, this came up just because we saw Rai Kishori going off to take prasadam. But really, in the mat, when you have a feast, so when you have a feast in the mat, really it was a feast, like you're getting all the good stuff in a feast, as a feast. And today, by the way, hats off, as the British say, to all of the cooks and everybody who helped and cleaned up and everything today, because that was a feast today. And so, even when your regular standard is quite luxurious for your prasadam, then this is a quantum leap above that. So anyway, we don't want to be I've been philosophical enough or something, but there must be somewhere in the world. Guru Maharaj made that place in the world where the pure devotion given by Srila Saraswati Thakur was carefully preserved, followed and maintained. And he does expect that. Now we're not going to read this. You can all read this, but I want to emphasize what is here. So we all must try to honor what Guru Maharaj expects from the devotees. He wants us to be what he describes. He wants us to be what is shown by Srila Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And so we must try our best. But we must be broad. Every mission, everybody will say, no, we are representing for instance, Srila Bhaktisiddhanthu Saraswati Thakur. And it's a natural evolution. Everyone's saying, I am representing, we are representing, I'm representing Srila Guru Maharaj or Srila Gurudev, like this. But we will say, okay, very good. So wherever we find that we are getting that connection and that learning something, getting something of Gurudev and Guru Maharaj, but we must try to find what is Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. We must try to know Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. The more we know them, the more we know Chaitanya Saraswat Matth. And we must be careful. We positively can see how something is presented. We don't think we're old, but we can now see generation taking place, and things being said which are absolutely not Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. So we must be a little cautious where we hear from, how we hear. And hence the books, the videos with the captions, like this, they are going to be our guideline again. And always it said, the Shastra, the Vaishnavas, the Gurus. And they're interrelated. If you see Guru Maharaj's books, Guru Maharaj teaching, and you see something else is happening, then you have a question mark. You may not be able to change what's happening, and everyone thinks we can change the world, but we ourselves will have our eyes open and see where we can get the books, the Vaishnavas and the Guru matching together. So this way, Chaitanya Saraswat Matth, we must always be searching the purity of Mahaprabhu, and as Sudarshana Prabhu actually happy to hear said, the current of Mahaprabhu is coming through Rupa Goswami, and this morning we sang the Parampara song in honor of Guru Maharaj's appearance in the Parampara. This is the dhara, this is the current that is coming. And it's not because we are disciples of Guru Maharaj and Gurudev that we say it. From outside, it's absolutely logical when we see all the facts and figures. Guru Maharaj is carrying that current. And so this focus on Guru Maharaj, this idea that what Mahaprabhu has given, there we find in Guru Maharaj. And there are so many who, the branches of the tree, who have for their own reason got their branches which have come up. And they are giving something, no doubt, of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But the heads of those prominent missions, they all look to Guru Maharaj. So when they look to Guru Maharaj, then we must see impartially as well as partially that Guru Maharaj is carrying that current. That is Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх. A beautiful retreat. Okay, I told you I wasn't going to read it. I am going to read it. The translation as given here. And this, okay, and just so you know, some translations, and we touched upon it a little when we were trying to understand some translation before. Some translations are a little tricky to understand, and we think maybe we need a second opinion. Now, here is a second opinion translation. And whose second opinion? Srila Gurudev's second opinion. And we've seen many things. If you want to say, sorry, I am the witness to Gurudev day after day going through this English translation of the verse. So, when we know that, then it adds something, because we know this is Gurudev's stamp of approval. And not only that, when after maybe a week, and this is with Sagar Maharaj, who is very unique personality, and Krishna sent him for some valuable seva during the time of Guru Maharaj and the earlier time of Srila Gurudev, the earlier tours, etc. But they debated this day after day, and when this final version came, after correcting by pen and paper, have you ever heard of pen and paper? And day after, then when it's finally corrected, really Gurudev very happily, when all done, Gurudev passed the paper across the table, Sagar Maharaj and myself seated side by side there, and passed the paper back across. This translation you will use from now on. And he was very happy. So it is substantial. It's Gurudev's hand-tuned translation. And it's based, by the way, on his Bengali explanation, like translation with illumination, something like that. His own Bengali, it's based on his own Bengali, Gurudev's own Bengali. So that verse, Srimad Chaitanya Saraswat Match Urgita Jai Shrim, which was composed in a hut on the banks of the Ganges in 1941, just as the temple was being, the ashram was being kind of prepared from being jungle, you can say. So here we are. In the holy abode of transcendental touchstone, that is Sri Navadip Dham, the self-same Sri Vrindavan. So in that holy abode, in the land of Koladeep, whose inner identity is the king of mountains, Sri Govardhan, near the charming shores, banks, of the holy river Bhagirathi. That's another name for the Ganges, the holy river Ganges, the Ganga. The holy river Ganges, who delivers all fallen souls, stands that grand and glorious King of all temples, Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх. So this is Guru Maharaj and Gurudev. Both hearts are loudly calling, in that beautiful retreat, the surrendered devotees, whose lives are the message of Sri Gauranga. So the lives of those devotees are eternally absorbed in the loving service of the Divine Master, the Golden Lord Gauranga, and the loving Lord Sri Govinda Sundar with his consort Srimati Gandharva, accompanied by all their beloved associates. Saparika, Shri Shri, Guru, Gauranga, Gandharva, Govinda Sundar. But this way, Gurudev has expressed, so beautifully, with hearts always filled with good hope to attain the grace of the Lord, following faithfully in the line of Sri Sri Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami, the storekeepers of the unlimited treasure of pure, sweet love divine, those surrendered souls ever sing the unending glories of the transcendental name and qualities of the most magnanimous, original Supreme Lord, Sri Sri Gauranga Sundar. Indeed, the hearts of all beings, moving and still, marvel in the glory of Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх as they take shelter in the soothing, affectionate shade of the victory flag that flies aloft and sings wholeheartedly to the world the ever-expanding renown of Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх. Bearing that banner of all transcendental benedictions, Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх ever shines resplendent in all its divine magnificence. This is Chайтанья Сарасват Матх. And now also, ever expanding means ever expanding. And really it is so. The ever expanding glories of Shri Chайтанья Сарасват Матх. So we must remember what is Chайтанья Сарасват Матх, who are Guru Maharaj and Gurudev, Srila Gurudev. And we must go on very carefully protecting the treasure of the seed of divine love that's been planted in our heart. That quality of seed, their seed. And there are many things to say. We will stop, but I just want to finish one last thing. I know you've got questions. But one last thing, and that is that Srila Gurudev, on different occasions and near the end of his manifest pastimes, very seriously saying, and I don't remember if there are a lot of people there or not, but he's talking to me. He's talking to me, and whether the specific time I'm mentioning, he's saying, now everyone considers Guru Maharaj as one of us, because he's like our generation, Guru Maharaj, and this sannyasi, that sannyasi. But in the future, those who have the vision, those who know the current of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, of the Lord, they will have Srila Guru Maharaj as most prominent in the distribution of the mercy of Rupa and Gauranga in the world. We know of, and he was saying, but we know of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and so many. And Guru Maharaj is all of that. And Guru Maharaj is grand personality. In future, he will be in such regard. Now, everybody thinking he's one of us. And that applies in our firm vision and in vision, whatever, understanding. That applies to Gurudev, to Guru Maharaj, and to Srila Prabhupada. And then we can start another chapter. But why Srila Prabhupada? But why Srila Prabhupada? Anyway, that's another chapter. We are all here together, and they really are the team. They are the team that has brought Srila Saraswati Thakur's message everywhere. And everyone can then try to hook their cart onto the the powerful cart that's moving, and oh no, we are there. But they are the ones who have brought us, and we must have full regard and appreciation for all three. And anybody, whatever order you may want to say, maybe for somebody, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, maybe Srila Gurudev, like this, whatever order, that's fine. But 150% is 150%. We have to understand 150%, each of them, that they are the pure ambassadors from the Lord. And that is clear from being with Srila Gurudev and Srila Guru Maharaj. And so if anything was we can say from our life with them, we need to try to solidify our own lives firmly in this way, because we don't know, any of us, how long we live, even when we are young. Almost every month we hear of devotees passing away or something happening, this, that and the other. Life is jalamala, it is tottering like that drop of water on the lotus leaf. So we need to use our life carefully and not look to others for complaining, there is this. The gossiping has to not only, not stop, because don't let it start, then you don't have to stop it. And not to get drawn into it. For a long time, we have to tolerate some things, we think, for the harmony of all the mission. But at some point, we have to say, well, enough is enough. And so we have to be pure to our ideal and to continue. And incidentally, Guru Maharaj, he knows very well all his godbrothers. Gurudev knew very well all Guru Maharaj's godbrothers. They know their great qualities. They know the grand preaching they've done and how they've established temples and continuing. But they are stressing, stay in this line. And there are other great devotees of Srila Saraswati Thakur, no doubt. But they are not, agree, you go and listen, and go to that temple and they listen what they say, that temple listen what they say, that temple listen what they say. And they're all claiming to represent Srila Saraswati Thakur. But here we've got our current. Here we've got where they look to. So we must try to harmonize everything with no bad feelings or anything anywhere. Whatever anyone says, does, you can't stop that. That's the world. Srila Guru Maharaj saw that repeatedly. Srila Guru Maharaj knows. Srila Gurudev knows. We've been through Guru Maharaj's, Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, the aftermath. We are students from that age, after the aftermath of that. We've seen Guru Maharaj's disappearance and the aftermath and how Gurudev dealt with that. And we must learn from all of these. And we have the perfect guidance from Guru Maharaj, and we have a book called Sri Guru and His Grace, which is the book about understanding Guru, disciple, and what it means to be a disciple and what it means to be in the current. So let us try our best to be honest to ourselves and stay clean ourselves and not to get sucked into unfortunate whirlpools of argument or unfortunate circumstances. What was the expression?
Whirlpools of unfortunate.
Guru Maharaj, right?
It was Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in black and white saying these points. Not to criticize anyone.
It's a beautiful point to understand what is perfect and to know what is imperfect, but not to be absorbed in that imperfection, but to concentrate on what is real. That's a beautiful point and important.
And Guru Maharaj also said, there's blind faith, but that implies a seeing faith. And we are in the line of seeing faith. We go forwards with our eyes open. And so go forwards with your eyes open. And if in danger, stay on the safe side. If in doubt about something, stay in the safe plane.
Can you further explain what you mean by that? Because sometimes I hear, where our temple is in Australia, there's several other motts nearby, and they come sometimes and they try to preach their Siddhanta. How do you stay in the safe plane when these people are voicing their Siddhanta or their mott's opinion?
Well,
openly?
I'd like to say that in your temple you go to your seniors and ask them, because it's all about time, place and circumstance. We are not rude. We have to be human. We are humans. Please be human, dear devotees. Be kind. What does Gurudev say? Be kind. At least be kind to everyone.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean we have to sit and listen. And
should you ask
UK is maybe a special place on planet Earth. We've been there, and there's quite a lot of odd things that go on around there, and used to be in there too. So, I don't know this current circumstance, and I don't want to. I already made enough of a comment there, but, there's time, place, and circumstance, and Guru Maharaj wanted devotees will engage in devotion under somebody who's more experienced and who has affection for them, some good wishes for them. And so Srila Rupa Goswami, he gives that the three best association, the three qualities are those who are in the same line, the same ambition, the same faith, the same current. We have the same goal. They're senior to us. They've got experience. They know the obstacles. They know the way to cross over different things and can help us like that. Senior to us. And the third quality is that they are kind to us. They're friendly to us. They are our well-wisher. Because if they're not, then they may know so many things. But if we don't have their favor, it's not going to help us. So in general, Guru Maharaj would want that. So in other words, wherever we are, we hope to have somebody we can consult with, especially like locally for things like that, because some of the temples around you are quite mixed up, and with all due honor, but that's why we want to stay where we are. We want to stay where things are not mixed up and keep that purity as much as possible. And once you start mixing some other idea and putting it in the pot and mixing it up, it becomes something not the pure line of Saraswati Thakur.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is much more to say, but Prashadam will be at 5:30, and actually there are two of us sitting here. Sorry, Prabhu, but
Thank you, Mark.
Some things have to be said at some point, and it's truthful. I mean, what can we say? We've had to consider many things over the years, and we must see always the positive, and the positive in everyone's intention. And so everyone can have different opinions and different this, that and the other, and that's fine. But we must be true to what we understand is what Guru Maharaj and Gurudev gave. And the thing is, it's not really a secret. It's there in the books. And when we see things that take place, which is that what they got from Guru Maharaj? We have to think, well, okay, we give our obeisances but from a distance. We want to go where we can find, as we said before, the scripture, the sadhu, the guru matching together. We've got checks and balances. All right, did I get myself into plenty of trouble?
No.
None, I don't think any.
You don't have to do anything wrong.
Well, I've also found out whether you do or whether you don't. If it's due to come to you, Krishna is arranged very suitably. But anyway, there must be somewhere where we can go, where that pure cleanness of Guru Maharaj Gurudev is there. And there are so many ways of alloy to draw people. But draw to what? We must try to draw to the purity, the line of what Guru Maharaj and Gurudev are giving. Some carrot, maybe. For the preaching purpose, it is understood. But still, as cleanly as possible, we want to say the truth. To the public also. And the point is, we do have a wonderful truth. Reality, the beautiful. A line of actual guardians. Connection in service to that plane, that possibility. So let us chant the glories of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Without them we have nothing. They can give, they can withdraw. And I don't think we have any time for any questions.
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
15, I bet.
9, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Srila Guru Maharaj said, there is religion, then there is Vaishnavism, then there is gaudia-vaishnavism, and then there's Shri Chайтанья Saraswat Match.
Jai. All right.
That was 15 seconds. Well done.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinaka Madana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Radhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Saraguna. Jiva Gopal Rata Saraguna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And of course, a big missing part of today is focusing on Gurudev and how Gurudev has made Srila Guru Maharaj's mat glorious, both as a place, but conceptually and bringing Guru Maharaj, showing Guru Maharaj and everything. So I mean, there are as we said, so many things to say. But now we have an evening program. It's Guru Maharaj's Vyasa Puja Day, and so I expect some more Kirtan, Harikatha, etc. between you all down at the Kirtan Shala. Jai Shila Gurudev, Shila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Shila Guru Maharaj, Shila Bhakti Rokkok Shri Radev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Vaga ki Jai, Jai Shila Guru Maharaj, Shri Vyasa Puja, Abhibari Titi Maha Mahotsav ki Jai, and Jai all the assembled devotees ki Jai, Kartik month ki Jai, Kartik Marsh festival Shri Govinda Farm ki Jai, Kartik Marsh and Shri Vyasa Puja festival worldwide ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur, Panchakalpatrubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Now all of you young and old, run along to the Kirtan Shala because we have a program to do down there of worship of the Lord and Kirtan as ordained by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that brings joy to Bhaktivinoda. Hari Bol.
Can I ask about the breakfast? So, is there no breakfast on Dwadashi morning or Ekadashi morning?
No, Ekadashi morning.
So like the pillow.
Maharaj, when you were Indra Lekadi was asking, when you were talking about no breakfast in the morning. You meant on Ekadashi, not on Dwadashi, right?
On Ekadashi, did I say something wrong?
No, I mean...
Ekadashi,
Yeah,
on Ekadashi day in Chaitanya Saraswat Match, breakfast was not served. However, it wasn't illegal. In other words, the fruit seller outside knew very well when it was Ekadashi, because he knew the Western devotees have got money, they've got their independence, and they're going to go outside the door and they're going to buy fruit. And Gurudev didn't say this is nonsense or anything. He knows that everyone's doing it. So, no, you're allowed to, but in the mat, the standard was they did not serve prasadam on Ekadashi. And there's only one place in the world, in the mat, where I know that they do that. And I was quite impressed. And I was quite happy. Oh, they're doing that.
So that was Ekadashi.
Okay, got it.
That was Ekadashi. Dwadashi, you must break fast. And you must break fast at the correct time.
Oh, which is it
Well,
super strict?
this is generally it is after sunrise and before a certain time. However, sometimes it is the sun has already come up, but still you have to wait until a certain time. So we have those who know how these calculations are made, and so in the Vaishnava calendar it mentions the time frame in which to break Ekadashi. And if you want to talk about Ekadashi, then it's the only time Srila Gurudev said that we should have calculations for local places around the world for their time of breaking fast. And their day of Ekadashi too, because it changes according to the astrological condition around the world. The other festivals, Janmashtami, appearance days, disappearance days, all these different days, they follow the same as Navadi. Ekadashi and the breakfast time, you need to refer to the local calculation. On scsmat.com, when you've got the calendar side, there's a place to click for the local Ekadashis and Paran times. There you click and you find the nearest city to you. There are many cities there on that, and that's calculated by our smart devotees each year.
Jay.
How's your show?
It's mostly trying to find something as much on